Artists from around the continent are lending their voices to the role of farming. 80% of Africa's population depends on agriculture for their livelihoods. The industry provides 70% of the continent's full-time employment. It makes up for a third of Africa's GDP and 40% of export earnings.
It's always a great honor to be involved in such campaigns like this, and especially a campaign I can relate to. Agriculture is our culture. Agriculture is like part of our nature. We have to do it because we have to eat. Besides
us doing something good for our nation, it is important for us to be involved with something like this, as this is all we have, one of the things we have in our world.
African farmers face serious challenges. With limited access to finance, many can't afford to invest in modern mechanical farming methods, equipment and transport vital to running their businesses.
The future of the country is suffering. So if ever the government can just pay much investment in agriculture, especially to youth, then definitely we will do something. We will contribute much into the GDP of this economy.
The one initiative called Do a Greek, It Pays brings together 30 musicians, and their message is simple. They're urging African governments to invest 10% of their GDP in the farming industry.
Everything in Africa now must be focused on feeding, farming, development in this area. If an organization like one can come together, put all this together, put pressure on African governments and force African governments to start taking the right steps, then this is the beginning of greater things to come for Africa.
Organizers say that once governments put the right policies in place, it will attract further investment.
Talking about 10% investment from national budgets, that's just the beginning, that's just a catalyst, so that private sector can bring the big money behind it and really transform the African economies and create a social economic transformation that moves people out of poverty for once and for all.
Back in 2003, African governments committed to allocating 10% of their GDP to the agricultural sector. So far, only a handful of African countries have honored that commitment. African musicians are hoping that with this soundtrack, they will create some publicity that will convince more governments to act. Sumitra, Nydoo, CCTV, Johannesburg.